So many of these different scenarios could have totally bankrupted us or ended us, but I think it built a lot of character going through these different situations, surviving it and learning from it and growing from it.
Let's get this out of the way now. Most companies will not have someone go from intern to CEO in a matter of months. That is a situation unique to James Stanley and Solé Bicycles. What isn't out of the ordinary, though, are the many challenges and hurdles that James and his team had to deal with when scaling Solé into the success it is today. On this episode of Up Next in Commerce, James takes us through the trials and tribulations of the Solé journey, including various shipping and manufacturing disasters and the lawsuits that nearly bankrupted the company. And he explains how he worked his way out of all those troubles and what he learned along the way. Plus, he gives some secrets on what's working well for Solé now, including the strategy of finding different touchpoints to reach a consumer in a way that has nothing to do with selling to them. Enjoy this episode.
Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Respond quickly to changing customer needs with flexible e-commerce connected to marketing, sales, and service. Deliver intelligent commerce experiences your customers can trust across every channel. Together, we're ready for what's next in commerce. Learn more at salesforce.com/commerce. Before we get into the episode, I would love it if you could hit subscribe and give the show a rating and review. I really want to know what you think and hear how we're doing. All right, on to the interview. Hey everyone, this is Stephanie Postles and you're listening to Up Next in Commerce. Today on the show, we have James Stanley. He's the president and founding partner at Solé Bicycles. James, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm super excited to talk about all things e-commerce with you guys.
Yeah, I was just looking through your website and I am very excited to get a bicycle after this. I didn't even know I needed one, but now I do.
Totally. Yeah. We have tons of great bikes and tons of cool different colorways and options and a bike for just about anyone's kind of need. So, yeah.
Awesome. So tell me a bit about how you started Solé. I think it was in college, right?
Yeah. So we were my business partners that I ended up starting the business with and we met back, funny enough, at my first venture, which was a music festival I helped start back in college. We were both partners in that. And it
was called the Coachella for the mountains.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think I read.
Yeah. So it was called Snowball, right? And the idea was Coachella meets the mountains. And there was this guy, Chad Donnelly, who I knew through the lacrosse world. I played college lacrosse, and he came up with the concept. And I was always involved in music. Like growing up, I was like a concert pianist, and I had like DJ'd in college and been in bands growing up. And so we met through the lacrosse world, and he came up with this idea, and he had reached out to me just to ask like his, my opinion on the project and what I thought about it. And at the time I was a freshman in college, he was asking me about it, and I ended up just going back to him and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. I think this is amazing. And so I was part of that initial team, and we kicked off this event with like Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros and Bass Nectar and Pretty Lights and Diplo and all these amazing artists come out, and sold like 15,000 tickets. Wow. And yeah, it was a really cool, first venture and first event. And so Jake and John, my original founders with Solé, they were partners in it as well, and they kind of helped get some of the money for the project. So we met. The first year was a huge success, and we stayed in contact. At the same time, they were coming up with the idea for Solé. And going back that summer between my freshman year and my sophomore year of college, they were looking for some additional help on Solé. And so I said I'd come in, and I've got a more like operational, financial sort of background or mind, and they were more the creatives and the sort of like visionary type of people. And so I came in, kind of helped clean things up, and we got the business off the ground. And then going through the summer, they ended up going and raising some money and starting another business. And I ended up taking over the business. I went from being like technically an intern in May to the CEO in August. So that's how I kind of got involved. And that was 2011. So we're going on, 9 years ago, and I've been CEO ever since.
Wow. Very cool. So I mean, that's a wild story. How many bikes were you guys selling when you took over, and like, where are you at now? So I can get kind of like the scale of the company.
Totally. Yeah. Our first year, we had we were featured on this big Forbes article, and the business sort of took off. And I think we sold maybe, like 1,000 bikes our first year, which was like a lot for first year business. This past year, we're going to sell about 15,000 bikes. So
wow,
yeah, we've grown quite a bit.
That's great. And so, what is the selling point of Solé bikes? Like, how's it different?
Totally. Yeah, for us, like our main selling point is you go look at the bike and it's just going to look different than any other bike you've ever seen before, right? We're really heavy on our marketing and design and colorways, and wanted to make something that's really, really simple, easy to use, easy to maintain, but also like looks really beautiful. Something that has like personality and really like people can relate to, right? I think a bicycle for most companies is more of a utility product, something that's really spec driven. And for us, like we wanted to make something that people were like really, really proud of, and it's like that they can relate to, and find a colorway that really matches their personality, or like they could listen to our music fix tapes, or like find these other ways that we can that people are really people can relate to the product. Yeah. And so that's really allowed us to set ourselves apart from other bike brands.
Well, and it seems like pricing is also a big thing. I mean, the one thing I've always thought is, why the heck are bikes so expensive? Why? And how did you get your guys' costs down?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the biggest way we do it is we work directly with a manufacturer, and we sell directly to our customers, right? So just the natural, by cutting out some of the normal distributors or middlemen, we're able to offer what would be a traditionally higher price point product for a lower price, and pass those savings on to the consumer by selling direct.
So tell me a bit more about that, because like, what did that look like finding a manufacturer? I think I saw you found in the early days your manufacturer on Alibaba, right? Which I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I feel like Alibaba, I mean, it seemed, I've been there before, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people. It's hard to know who to trust. It's hard to know if they're going to send me something good. So like, how did you guys go about, finding a manufacturer there? Did it work out well? Give me some behind the scenes.
Totally. Yeah. So when we got the business kicked off, we actually were involved in this like Alibaba business plan competition. So we're back when we were in college, Jake and John had applied for this business plan competition. They won it, and we got a $15,000 grant from Alibaba. That grant, or that money, paid for them to initially go over, meet our first supplier who Alibaba had helped set up, and we got our first order of bikes in. And that's what the initial financing that got the business kicked off. But over time, we went through a few different suppliers and really had to like iterate our process. And I spent a lot of time over in China, meeting with different suppliers, refining the product, getting it to a place where it's where it is today. It took a lot of trips over there and a lot of refining.
In the early days, when you're picking your suppliers and manufacturers, what would you do differently this time around? Like, what lessons did you learn, or what things did you maybe stumble on in the early days that you could avoid if you were to redo it now?
So what I would recommend is, we got placed with the supplier via Alibaba, and we just worked with the first person we were placed with. Mm-hmm. I think like we ended up switching a few different suppliers over time, but what really like ended up getting us with a supplier that we were super happy with is we went over there, and I went to one of the big trade shows, and we ended up visiting like another 15 or 20 during this trip I went on, about year 2 or 3. And that trip, we ended up finding the supplier we worked with still to this day. And so we really got to like go out and meet these people and do your diligence and find the supplier that makes the most sense for you, and not just use the first one that you end up getting placed with or you end up meeting with. And you got to go over there and like really develop a relationship with them. I mean, it's so important. Mm-hmm. They have this saying there. It's first you drink tea, then you drink Mau Tai, and then you talk business. And what I mean by that is like, they want to meet you, the different suppliers and the different people over there want to meet you. They want to build a personal relationship, and then they want to talk business, because it's so important there to have a personal relationship as well as a business relationship. So, if you're going to try to source something from China or overseas, I'd recommend going over there and meeting these people and spending time with them, and learning and meeting them as people, and really developing a relationship, because that's going to help that business relationship over time and make a really, really strong business relationship.
Yep. So if you don't go and meet them and you don't know, you didn't really do your due diligence, what kind of problems could a new company encounter? Like, did you encounter any issues in the early days with some of your suppliers that you stopped working with?
The supply chain for a bicycle is pretty complex, right? Like for our product alone, there's over 50 parts, and those 50 parts come from like 20 different other suppliers, and then those have to come into an assembler. The assembler puts the product together, and then it's shipped over. So there's a ton of different things that can go wrong. And a good example would be we had one of our biggest shipments ever at the time for the business. We had put in an order for summer, and it was like 2,000 units. And we had also set up a big sale online with a company called fab.com. And at the time they were like having, I don't know if you remember the company fab.com, but they were like one of the fastest companies to $1 billion valuation, I think. And people were talking about it as the next Amazon. And it was like having this really big moment. And we were selling really well on there. And we partnered with them. We were like, hey, we're going to bring in a bunch of units. Let's have a really, really big sale. And we have this massive sale. We sell like 1,500 to 2,000 units, pre-sell them. It ends up being the biggest sale ever on Fab up to that point. And so do the sale, goods come in, and then we ship all the product out. Well, our manufacturer had packaged the bikes slightly incorrect to where like the crank arm is usually woven through the front wheel, which is detached and attached to the side of the bike when it's shipped. And so they were all packaged slightly off that almost every single bike came with one of the spokes popped off. And, like you get your brand new bike that you just bought offline, brand new, beautiful bike. You open it up and like one of the spokes popped off, which it's like, you can't ride it, but it's a small problem, but it's not an easy problem to fix. Yeah. And that, oh my gosh, that situation almost bankrupted us. And what ended up happening,
what'd you guys do?
Yeah, we had the product on credit. We had been sold the product on credit. So we went back to the supplier and we're like, hey, like this is gonna bankrupt us. Like we got to figure something out. And they refused to take any discount on it. So then our advisor was like, hey, like we're going to just hold payment until we get something settled. They ended up serving us a lawsuit. They came to America, served us a lawsuit. So then we were served and had to go through this entire, and mind you, like I'm like 21 years old at the time. I'm like still in school. We get served a lawsuit. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So we had to like hire a lawyer who was our buddy. He was only like 30 and we didn't have a ton of money, and we had to like put together a case and actually go out and like, sort of defend ourselves.
Did you win?
So we go through this and we hired this lawyer, and he's like, look, you guys don't have the money to afford me. So I'm going to teach you how to build this case. So I went and actually built this timeline of everything that's happened. And we came up with a case theory and sort of countersued them. They responded and deposed me. I had to go through this 40 exhibit, 8-hour deposition. And, but like we kind of held our ground and got through it. And after that, it got to the point where it was like financially it made the most sense to settle. And we were able to settle for like what ended up being about half off of what the original was. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's wild. I mean, I'm just imagining being in college, dealing with that. I mean, how was that experience being in college? I'm just thinking like all of a sudden you have this company and you're having to go to China and now you're getting sued. And like, what was the college experience like for you when you were having something very different than probably a lot of your peers?
Yeah, it was, to be honest, it was like really exciting, like you felt like it was just so cool to be like building something and going through this. And it was like, we were so ignorant, I think, going through a lot of this stuff, which I think ended up actually helping us. Like, we was just very shoot from the hip and like figure it out. So many of these different scenarios could have like totally bankrupted us or ended us. But I think like it built a lot of character by like going through these different situations and like surviving it and learning from it and growing from it. And the goal was just like, don't go bankrupt. Don't die. Like keep fighting and figure it out. So yeah.
That's good. I like that. And I could see it also just making it seem like, well, what else? Like nothing can really scare me. I mean, I've gotten sued. I almost went bankrupt. Like, there's nothing too scary out there after that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to be.
It's part of like building a business, right? Like you're going to face adversity, and there's a reason 9 out of 10 businesses fail, right? There's so many things that can go wrong with building a business, but you have to learn to like embrace those challenges and know that like, you just got to fight through it. And there's always there's not always a way to figure it out, but there's oftentimes you can, if you keep working at it and you keep fighting, like you can find ways to get through these things. And if you do get through them, these are like sort of like business scars, I guess you could say, or like, things that'll stick with you and you could grow and build on as you continue to build your business. So, after going through all this stuff over so many different situations over so many years, we've now learned to like embrace the challenge and just know, hey, there's going to be some new challenge, or every year there's going to be some new thing that's going to, we're going to get hit with, and you just have to learn to embrace it and take it head on and not let it beat you up. So,
yep. I love that. So you guys seem really good at partnerships. I mean, I've seen some of the very well-known companies that you work with who they get their own custom bikes built, and you've got things with artists going on and music and all that. Like, how do you view that strategy in your playbook to be able to access new customers and new markets? Like, and how do you even develop those partnerships?
Totally. So a lot of that was built from when we started the company, we weren't the traditional bike guys. We were coming from the music background, a fashion background, a huge art scene. And so we had all these relationships early on, and, just out of like pure, like having those relationships, we intertwined it in the business. And you have like the Fix Tape series, which, one of our early employees was a professional DJ. So he's like, hey, I got this idea. Let's create an hour-long mix to listen to while I'm riding our bike, and we'll go get some of our other DJ friends to do it. And that piece of content, right? Just that we created that, and it's been rolling ever since. And we just launched the Sophie Tucker one, which was, I think, our 76th mixtape, right? And so then
cool.
That artist creates that mix, and some of these DJs are like very globally known DJs. We post it on our SoundCloud, and they share it on their SoundCloud, and it creates this nice like piece of content that people can come back to and find, Solé, or find that mix each month, right? And it's funny because you wouldn't think of us as a music business or a bike business, but there's people out there in the world that only know us as the Fix Tape company. They don't even, people will find us and be like, oh my gosh, you guys like sell bikes? I thought you were just the Fix Tape company or something, It's just like organic, sort of like different little marketing tricks or little tactics that we've built over the years. And they just are an organic, unique way to reach new customers and, relate with our customers. We do the different partnerships. Like, again, I'll use the Sophie Tucker example. Like, they're a big DJ group. If you don't know them, they're a big DJ group, globally known. I think one of their fun facts, I think they have a platinum record in every country in the world except Antarctica. They're pretty big and they're up and coming. And, they had a song that's called Purple Hat. And one of the lines in the song is Purple Hat Cheetah Print. And so we thought, how cool would it be to make a their purple cheetah print bike? And so we had connections to one of their agencies or, marketing companies or whatnot. So we were able to get a pitch in front of them, and they were super stoked on it. And now we're selling Purple Hat Cheetah Print bikes. And again, it's a cool way to like, what other bike companies are selling purple cheetah print bikes? It's just a unique way to reach new customers and provide a unique product and put a cool product out in the world that, no one else is doing. And I think it's just thinking that way within the bike industry has allowed us to build up these partnerships and set ourselves apart from other bike companies.
Yep. And when you're doing these partnerships, these partners can also sell it on their website, right? So it's not all being sourced back to your website as a central hub. You're essentially letting these partners also sell the bikes on their websites as well, right?
Totally. Yeah. For like each partnership's bespoke and different in their own way. Sometimes like we did a partnership with Wild Fox, which is a women's centric fashion brand. And like we did these like really beautiful floral prints all over a bicycle, and they took them in and they sold them through all their retail shops as well as their partner wholesale shops as well as their website. And we sold on our website. So there's like a bunch of different ways we can structure it. But yeah, it's usually just bespoke to whatever that partnership is.
Well, that's a good segue into, when you're thinking about, you've got these mixtapes going out and partnerships that aren't in, anywhere close to like the biking industry, how are you tracking conversions? Like, is your goal to try and get people to listen to these mixtapes and then come back and buy bikes? Or how do you think about what your goals are around these different projects that you're doing?
Totally. With the Fix Tapes, right? I think we're trying to push out a certain amount of content like each month and each quarter. And so then we go out and we build content calendars around, what are our different initiatives that we can tap into. I think when we're thinking about content, we like to look and start with email. So email is like one of our highest converting marketing channels, constantly filling and adding to our email list. And then from there, we're trying to push out 2 to 3 emails a week. And so like when we're mapping out, our email pushes, we say, what are our different content initiatives that we can tap into? So we try to do a fixed tape, every 2 months, and we have to try to do an artist series every quarter and large scale partnership once or twice a year, right? And so we mapped out all these different things we're trying to do, and then we funnel, and then that leads into, email, right? And with email, you can't really just send very bland marketing type style emails, every month. You're not going to get good engagement. So we have to create stuff that's engaging, right? And I think we've just gotten so good at creating this stuff very cost effectively that it ends up paying for itself through the conversions of email. And just, it's also a great brand building. They're all great brand building initiatives, and they all kind of build on themselves, right? Like if I do a big, large scale partnership with like a Sophie Tucker, that's going to come back and open up new opportunities down the road for other potential brands or other potential artists, right? And so it's sort of all built on itself as we go bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So when you're talking about emails really high when it comes to converting customers, how do you think about creating that engaging content? Like what pieces of content are working, or what emails work best?
I think one of the more interesting, fun little emails that we came up with years ago, and it's like the easiest thing to create ever, is we do what we call Solé Saturday. So the Solé Saturday is usually one photo by the Solé team, and then 3 user-generated photos. And so every bike we ship out has a little tag on it that says, tag at Solé Bicycles, hashtag, and use hashtag above the bars for your chance to be featured. And so then what we do is, as we're selling the product, customers are going out and taking photos for us. And every Saturday we feature three of our customers. And that, again, is just like we're using user-generated content, and it's creating a nice email that people can go back to and see if they're featured. And it's actually very high converting as well.
That's fun. I do think having actual customers and photos is where a lot of brands are going to be headed. Less about the models and the people who look perfect, and more about, is this someone who kind of reminds me of myself? And I can see myself riding that bicycle.
Totally.
And just, feeling a better connection with that.
And it's funny you say that, because it's even like when you go to our paid spend or paid marketing, like a lot of times the overproduced sort of content where it's on get a really expensive content creator to produce it and it looks very professional, versus like content that's shot on iPhone or content that's just shot with customers' photos, that ends up converting a lot better than the higher produced stuff. And I think that's just like the people can relate more to it,
Yep, I agree. I mean, what kind of channels are you putting that content, or, the more natural looking content that your customers are creating? I mean, what channels are you finding are working best right now to convert customers?
We're constantly testing when we're doing Facebook and Instagram ads. And so, so I've been serving different type of ads to different audiences on Facebook and Instagram with different types of content, the more professional type of content versus like the more just like shot from iPhone vibe. And even like over the last year, like we've had a big uptick because on our online business, because of COVID and people, being at home and wanting to find a way to get outside and, and escape sort of this madness. And one of the craziest things that we found was like iPhone ads, or the story ad specific. So ads built just in the format for iPhones were converting at like crazy higher ROAS versus like just more static or traditional images or ads on like the Facebook or Instagram. So that was like a kind of a crazy thing we kind of came up on this year. There's like a very beautiful, simple ad where it's just like the bike on the beach, and you have like the sky in the background and then the sand below it. And then just like the brand and a little copy below it. And like that little ad was like absolutely killed it for us this year.
That's great. Are you still using, maybe not that ad, but still putting new ads into the story section on iPhones?
Yeah. And I recommend any brand out there that's doing, it's like, I've been learning a lot of this as we go and like trying to get better at it. But like you can, when you're creating your ads on Facebook and Instagram, for when you're setting that ad up, you can actually split it so that it's like, you have this certain photo for for the static setup, and then you have a different photo for when it's served on story. Like my biggest eyesore or I hate is like when you're on a story and you get an ad and it's like an ad that's built for the display. So it has like the kind of squared picture and then it has the words under it. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like it's such an eyesore to me compared to like a beautiful ad that's like really built for the stories. And so just making sure that you have the ads set, the story specific ads. I think it'll help your conversion so much. It's helped us a ton.
That's a really good point. So what kind of return on spend should a brand expect from the iPhone story ads versus maybe Instagram or Facebook or TikTok?
Ooh, that's like that's a tough question. I think it's specific to the brand and the product they're selling, and then like even like the time of year, right? Like for us right now, our ROAS is way lower than like the middle of summer. It's almost like 10th of what it was during the summer, right? And that's just because it's seasonality of our product. We saw specific, like static versus story during the summer. I think it was converting like a 3 or 4x of what it was static. But that's specific to us. So, I think every brand's different, every product's different. But yeah, I think that can give you an idea of like the potential.
Yeah, very cool. Is there any other new marketing channels that you're trying out there? Like, I'm not sure if this will work, but we are, allocating some funds here to try this out.
No, for now we're focusing just on, Facebook, Instagram. We're doing Google AdWords and we do retargeting. I want to dip my toes into some other things. Like I want to try the TikTok and I want to try some Pinterest. I've heard about the TikTok, but the tracking's not that great on it. And so we haven't done anything yet. And also TikTok's, I think, for a little bit lower age or younger demographic than what our target audience is. So
I don't know. We've had a lot of people on here saying TikTok works well. And really? That originally it was just the dancing videos and younger people and all that. And people are like, it seems like there's still a good arbitrage opportunity on TikTok right now because the attribution and tracking might be worse, but you still get, a lot of the benefit of going onto a new platform before they increase the pricing and actually understand like what kind of conversions, they're hitting. So I don't know, it might be a spot to check out.
Totally. There we go. That's my takeaway from this. We're gonna give it we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go.
Yeah, give it a whirl and see. So when new customers are coming onto your website, I want to talk a bit about like how do you guide them through the funnel? Like how do you personalize things and show them, not only content but also maybe a bike that would work for them or that might pique their interest?
Totally, yeah. So it's an interesting, there's a few things we do. We have like about our bikes page where it's like, which Solé are you? That kind of walks them through we have like 6 different models, right? You have the single speed fixed gear, you have the city bike, you have the Dutch step through, you have the 3-speed city bike, and then you have the coastal cruiser top bar and coastal cruiser downward slanting bar. So we have a page that like will walk the customers through the difference between all those and the pros and the cons of each of those. And that can kind of explain the style. Then once you know the style, what we do different than many maybe other companies is we actually, each product, each colorway has its own product variant versus like you may go see a single speed version of one of our competitors and they keep all the colors on one product page. We create the personality and like each colorway has its own personality and its own page. And it really helps customers kind of like, they're like, okay, I like the red bike and see the lifestyle images for that red bike. And it's, the red bike would be our oceanfront walk and it's got its own story, help the customers really like fall in love with that product and tell a story around each of them versus like, them all being bundled up on the one page.
That's great. And then I was seeing a couple retail stores that you were partnering with probably pre-COVID, but it seems like there'd be a really good opportunity to have those partners also kind of market and share for you while they're getting in front of their own new customers as well. It seems like they would kind of take on the budget, like the marketing budget, to then share your brand, under their brand, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. We're seeing a big uptick with like these online third-party wholesalers and distributors. And that's been like, for us, I think our product it's got such a great look and feel to it that it can transcend from not just like traditional like sporting goods or traditional bike centric channels, right? Like we can sell on sites like an Urban Outfitters or like, a Zola or like some of these other more lifestyle driven sites that want a cool lifestyle product in the bike space. And so that's like, that's one of our big initiatives that we're trying to get on more of these like third party digital, wholesaler channels, because in the last year, what we've seen, the biggest takeaway from all this is like everything is going digital much faster than it was prior to COVID.
Yep. And are those partners showcasing your brand, or are they more white labeling, like ordering the bikes and then putting it under their brand to say, okay, this is an Urban Outfitters bike? Or are they actually saying, no, this is Solé?
No, we're selling as Solé. Yeah, we're selling as Solé through these third parties. Yeah.
That's awesome. And how are you getting in front of these big partners? I mean, Urban Outfitters is huge and super popular. Like, how did you even get in front of them and convince them to partner with you guys to sell your bikes?
Just cold email them, right?
All right, who are you cold emailing? Tell us your secrets. Come on, James.
Very easy. We'll go out there. Like if we believe our product could fit in, someone's store or someone's space, and like we'll hit them up, and we're very confident in our product and our brand, and we'll sell them on it. And it works a ton. And then there's other partners that have reached out to us and want us to work with them. I think like a good example, we were connected, Target reached out to us, and we've just recently started selling on Target's website, which I think is like, it's interesting with them. Like Target's trying to, in each of their product categories, bring like a more 21st century brand in. And I think like we really fit that, that really like lifestyle driven, 21st century brand for a product. And normally there's not a lot of brands in the space that have that kind of fit. And I think we really fit the ethos as well. So that's an exciting one for us. And then, like I said, like the Zola, right? Like Zola's one of the biggest wedding registry sites. And we're one of the only bike brands on there as well, and do really, really well on there.
Oh, that's a good angle. I wouldn't think to put a bike on a wedding registry website, but that's awesome, because a lot of times it's just the same old where you're like, I don't need more plates. Yeah. But I could go for a bike. I would put that on my registry.
We sell so many bikes there. You'd be really, really surprised. It's a great wedding gift. We have it his and hers. Almost every single order that goes to there is 2 bikes, obviously.
That's awesome. Really good strategy. So how are you keeping up with fulfillment and the back end? I mean, especially when you're integrating all these partners like Target and Urban Outfitters. I mean, what happens if Target has a big surge and they've got a bunch of traffic come to their website, and all of a sudden you've got 500 bike orders? Like, how are you guys keeping up behind the scenes to make sure that you don't, go out of stock or have issues on the back end?
Totally. This was something like this year that we've invested a lot of time and energy and effort into, is like leveraging technology to make sure like all of this stuff runs super smooth. So, we're using like a third party warehouse that has their own systems. And then we have to use, EDI software, our partner, to connect to a lot of these systems. And so it's just, spending the time, energy, and effort to really like automate all this stuff and make sure all these systems talk to each other. And there's inventory pushes going out multiple times a day. You put in the front end work to automate all this stuff so that you can avoid those problems, right? And so there's systems that say, hey, there's inventory pushes that happen multiple times a day to all these systems. So if there's a big spike on, say, a Target, right, that inventory is removed and pushed out to the other channels so that there's no overselling or minimal overselling. There's still like happens a little bit here and there because the inventory pushes don't go out all the time. It's like a couple times a day. But yeah, it's just about leveraging. There's a ton of technology out there, like using the technology to your advantage to, automate this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what are some big bets that you guys at Solé are making over the next couple of years? Like, where do you think the bicycle market is headed? What are some things that you're betting on that you're not sure if they're going to pay off or not over the next couple of years?
Yeah, totally. I think it goes back to digital. Like, we're super focused on digital right now, and we're super bullish on digital. We're investing this technology to kind of make sure that we're set up to scale. And then we want to continue to expand, where we're selling and who we're selling in front of. On top of that, it's, continuing to expand how we market our product and where we market our product, and the media partners we can use to get in front of these different people. I think like the biggest thing, people having to stay at home as a result of COVID has set all these new habits. I think they say like it takes 3 weeks to, set a habit. And what we've all been at home since April, right? Everyone's, having to shop online and shop at home. And I think, once we come out of COVID, like those habits, I don't think are going to go away. And so for us, like we're super bullish on making sure we have a really solid foundation with not only our website, but the, online e-retail partners that we're selling through so that, as we come out of COVID, we continue to have really strong distribution digitally to the future.
Yep. I could see some of the retail partners leaning on you guys also for maybe advice and best practices. And I mean, I've seen some of the bigger companies kind of looking at, not that you're a startup, but looking at startups, looking at people who are able to be agile and move quickly and kind of trying to figure out like, well, what are you guys doing? Like, tell us what are the best practices right now, because what we've been doing for the past couple of years was just thrown up into the air and we have to kind of rewrite how we do things now. So did they ever kind of hit you up and be like, hey, James, how should we set this up? Or how are you guys doing this so we can, replicate this?
Totally. No. I mean, I'm always, there's always like other people in the industry that we're like talking to, and there's always people that we like, whether it's people in the bike industry or other businesses, other friends that have businesses. And I think like, again, always happy to, talk with them. And we, for us, you say that, we aren't a startup, we are a startup. Like I still, we've been doing this for 10 years. I still feel like it's a startup. We have our team's still pretty lean. It's only like 10 of us, and we're super nimble and able to, move quick, which is great, and allowed us to like pivot and make changes when things like COVID happen that bigger companies can't do. And so and then we're able to, once we find successes, we can double down and grow on those. And so, we're staying nimble and kind of going with the flow and learning quick. So
that's great. All right, cool. Let's jump over to the lightning round. The lightning round is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud. This is where I'm going to ask you a question and you have a minute or less to answer. Are you ready, James?
I am ready.
All right. What is your favorite business book that you think about or refer back to?
It's not a business book per se, but it is You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, okay. I like that. I actually have not heard of that, I don't think.
It's like the quick hitter on it. It's about like overcoming adversity and like pushing yourself. And I think like that's so important in business, is like understanding that you can overcome adversity and always setting your bar higher and higher. And again, it's not technically a business book, but I think there's a ton of good business lessons you can learn from it.
I like that. That sounds good. I'll have to check it out. If you were to have a podcast, what would it be about and who would your first guest be?
Oh my gosh. If I were to have a podcast, I would talk about, my favorite thing outside of business and bicycles is traveling. So I would do a travel blog, and my first guest would be Barack Obama.
There you go. I'd listen to that. That sounds good. What is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for you?
The nicest thing. Oh, this is big.
This is big, heavy.
My friend Mario and Ken, they, in the early days when we started up our USC shop, these guys would come out every year and work for back to school, which is our craziest time of year for that shop. We sell like 1,000 bikes in like 2 weeks, and they would come out and stay at my place, crash on my floor, and help us, every year for like the first 4 years. So shout out to Mario and Ken.
Oh, that is really nice. That's a good answer. What trend or tech do you not understand today that you wish you did?
What trend or tech? TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
There you go.
I don't get it, but I feel like I need to get it.
Yeah. Okay. I've had some other people say that as well. You're in good company. Others do not understand it. All right. And then the last bigger one, what one thing will have the biggest impact on e-commerce in the next year? And it can't be COVID, because we've had too many people say that.
I think it's going to be like shipping. I feel like shipping is going to change drastically over the next 1 to 5 years, right? You have like Amazon starting to like do their drones. And then you have like, we're starting to see in LA, these little like robots that are delivering food.
Yeah.
So I think, and then on top of that, like FedEx and UPS are just killing everyone with all their fees and like their pricing. Like we've been in peak search charges since like July. And so I just feel like there's so much potential for disruption there, shipping. Yep.
Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah, I agree. I see a lot of companies, a couple of them actually are in Canada, who are trying to get 1 and 2 day shipping. Like I think a lot of more companies will be leaning into that once they figure out, how to make that work. And they also see how reliant they are on the FedExes, the UPSs, and how much it disrupts businesses.
Totally. Please, someone come out here. Please help us get our shipping costs down. It's so expensive to ship bikes.
Well, maybe, James, that can be your next business. I mean, you've done a lot in your day. You might as well just start a shipping company as well.
There we go.
All right, James. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Where can people find out more about you and Solé Bicycles?
Totally. You can check us out at solebicycles.com or our Instagram, which we update daily, at Solé Bicycles. And then my personal is at Jimmy Stans.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Hey listeners, thanks for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It helps spread the word, and I would greatly appreciate it. See you next time.
Up Next in Commerce is brought to you by Salesforce Commerce Cloud and created by the team at mission.org. Subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.